Hey guys, welcome back to Coffee Cup Christianity. My name is Mike. We are getting jacked for Jesus. I am so glad you are here today. We are continuing our series, the top 50 most popular verses, and we are on verse number 48, which is Acts chapter 1, verse 8, and let's get started. All right, so Luke wrote this book, and Luke is the guy who wrote the Gospel of Luke. So Luke wrote two books of the Bible, Luke and Acts. And when he wrote Acts, he was kind of palling around with Paul. They were like BFFs. The first four books of the New Testament are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and they're the story of Jesus' ministry while he was alive. The book of Acts is kind of like the adventures of the apostles, okay? It's after Jesus dies, they kind of go and do their own thing, but they're kind of setting up churches. So it's the ministry of the church. It's continuing what Jesus started. Luke, if you didn't know, Luke was a doctor and a scientist, and so he was very meticulous in his research and his writings, and so it's kind of interesting. Nobody disputes how intelligent or how accurate the writings of people like Pythagoras, Hippocrates. Those guys were like considered to be geniuses, right? Well, you may not know this, but they actually lived 300 to 500 years before Dr. Luke. So I suppose if Dr. Luke's name were like Lucimedes or Lucocrates or something, we might be like, oh yeah, we believe the Bible, I guess. It's more accurate. But you know, we get this in our head. We assume that during the Bible times, everybody wore sandals and white bathrobes, so they must be stupid. But we forget that, like, you know, the Greeks in the early BC years were like some of the smartest people on the planet, okay? So keep that in mind when people are like, oh, the Bible's written by dumb people. Well, no, it wasn't. So want to get right into it. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in all of Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. So you remember our first verse from last week was 2 Timothy 1:7, and that was about power as well. And we talked about how power does not mean superpower, okay? Power is not just a superpower. Power is something much more in the Bible. When you receive the Holy Spirit, the power we're talking about is courage, is boldness, is authority, insight. So a lot of different things that play into what power means, and that's what this verse is talking about. Notice the progression here is receive the Holy Spirit, power, witness to the ends of the earth. Receive the Holy Spirit, power, witness to the ends of the earth. 1, 2, 3, okay? It's not witness to the ends of the earth and then receive power or then receive the Holy Spirit. No, sometimes we confuse these. Sometimes we try to do things by our own authority. Sometimes we try to do things by our own power. Well, no, you're not gonna accomplish that way, okay? Jesus is saying, hey, you know, when you get the Holy Spirit, then you're going to be able to change the world around you. Then you're going to be able to change your life. And so oftentimes, again, we kind of mix those up, and it's important to know that the Holy Spirit comes first, okay? That always comes first, then those two things, okay? Witnessing is not showing what we can do for God, but it's showing other people what God has done for us, okay? It sounds very John F. Kennedy, I guess, but it is. It's a really simple way to kind of explain what witnessing is all about. If anybody ever asks, like, hey, tell me about God, you'd be like, no, let me just show you. Let me show you by giving you examples of what's going on in my life. So in the second part of this verse, Luke begins to describe God's ever-widening circles, okay? His ever-widening ministry as it begins to kind of, you know, branch out, right? And he describes three different places. He describes Jerusalem and Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth, right? And, you know, and there's three different types of people there, okay? In Jerusalem and Judea, you're dealing with people that are like-minded, okay? They believe the same things. And we all have that, right? What's your Judea? I mean, it's like your neighborhood, your best friends. Think about like people you might share the same political views with, the same spiritual views with, the same sports team interests with, right? This is the kind of thing, okay? This is the kind of thing that people are talking about when they're talking about their Judea, right? Their Jerusalem. And then you go to the next one, right? Then God says, okay, well, I don't want you just to stop there with telling people who I am. I want you to move on to the next level, okay? The next level is Samaria. the Jews and the Samaritans did not get along. Okay, you might remember the story of the Good Samaritan. Okay, that story is all about the fact that the Jews were like, wait, a Samaritan was the good guy here, not the priest or the Levite? That they hated each other. Okay, in fact, there was a road that they would take to go all the way around Samaria to get from one place to another because they hated each other so much. That's like when you drive to Chicago and you're like, hey, I hate Gary so much, I'm gonna drive like through Michigan and take a boat over the Lake Michigan and then come down through, Milwaukee or whatever, it'd be like doing that. So now they're supposed to tell the Samaritans about Jesus. They're supposed to go tell the Samaritans about this super Jew, right? Like that's not gonna work, okay? And so after that, God says, not only that, I want you to go to the ends of the earth, right? Jesus hasn't reached the ends of the earth like he says in that verse. If someone in your family, your community, your school, your work, your church, whatever, hasn't heard about Jesus, that's kind of the point, right? Like when he says to the ends of the earth, it means the ends of the earth. It means that it should permeate through all of the world, right? Like nobody should have missed that message. So what I want you to do is I want you to grab your coffee, get jacked, grab your ticket, punch your ticket, get it, go to Samaria, whatever your Samaria is. And I want you to talk to somebody, change the world, man. Go get it. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witness in Jerusalem and all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth.